April 1st, 1996, adoption of Quinton and others, Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts. Overview: Department of Social Services planned to adopt out the parents' children. The parents appealed, and the court briefly described social services case for neglect, sexual molestation, and statements of the children. While describing the past history of the father, the court writes, in 1983, the father joined a religious organization called the OTO and studied the so-called Satanic Bible. In January of 1984, he was convicted of grave robbing and sentenced to 2 months in jail. After release, he returned to his transient lifestyle, alternating between LA and San Francisco. The eldest child, E, was diagnosed as suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. During an interview with Dr. O'Connell, she said that her daddy's a witch, that bad witches took my picture with no clothes on, that Paul, who's a friend of the father, calls me his girlfriend, and Paul took pictures of her with no clothes on, that Paul said not to tell, that she and her mother were tied up together with no clothes on while her father had no clothes on, and that the witches shared weenies and tried to touch her with the weenies. July 1996, Missouri Court of Appeals, termination of parental rights affirmed. Overview: This self-described satanic family has been in and out of social services for many years. Parental rights were terminated as to 3 of the children. There was constant and severe domestic violence. The father continually abused the mother, including using a cattle prod to electrically shock her, shot her with a gun, cut her with a razor, and violated her with a baseball bat. The mother then claimed she made up the story. Although physical evidence was discovered, she had a stab wound and she was bleeding internally. Both parents have been arrested for the rape of a teenager, but the witness wouldn't testify, so charges were dropped. Both parents had tried to commit suicide and were involved in drug usage. The mother admitted to sacrificing animals in front of her children and giving them drugs to forget the ceremonies. The children also stated that this occurred. October 1996, Ohio. Nathan Brooks found guilty of the mutilation, slaying of his parents, and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. Overview: The 18-year-old perpetrator decapitated his father and hacked his mother to death. Brooks told the officers he used the head in a black mass ritual that he believed would increase his satanic powers. He said he also had planned to kill his younger brother, but the youngster was visiting a friend. February 1996, Suzanne Hughes v. Department of Social Services, Arlington County, Court of Appeals of Virginia, termination of parental rights affirmed. Overview: A baby was removed from the custody of the mother after evidence of abuse. The mother was eventually diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. The child was returned to the mother, but after further incidents of abuse and neglect, she was taken into custody again. The mother's counselor testified that the mother stated she was involved with the satanic cult that killed adults and babies, and they had threatened her. She stated that she was involved with them since she was 7 years old. She reported members of the cult abducted and raped her. Under cross-examination, the mother was asked about the maternal grandparents' failure in reporting her own abuse, and the court was concerned that she was living at the maternal grandfather's home. The trial judge also expressed concern over the continued existence of the satanic cult and the appellant's inability to help the police prosecute a member of this cult. So this lady continued to live in the same family home where she had been verbally and physically abused as a small child. The court found the evidence of the appellant's participation in the cult described was relevant to the proceedings. December 1995, Jimmy Lee Pennick v. State of Indiana. Conviction for murder and enhanced sentence affirmed. The overview is 4 practitioners of Satanism conspired and planned to murder a prospective member of their satanic church. They were concerned that the victim, William Alt, knew about a prior murder. They took him to what he thought was an initiation. He was asked to lay down on a door which was being used as an altar. Keith Lawrence read an invocation to Satan, Goodwin and the Lawrences also made cuts on Alt's chest and abdomen in the form of an inverted cross, as well as other cuts. Pennick's own words describe how the victim's chest and abdomen were cut open, how Goodwin tried to cut out the victim's heart before he died, and how the victim remained conscious throughout this and responded to questions from the defendant. Aggravators were that Pennick dismembered the victim's head and hands, and Pennick admitted that he removed the head to give the skull to a friend. Pennick's defense was that he acted under the influence of his strong beliefs in Satanism, but that he had converted to Christianity while in prison. November 15th, 1995, Stephen Brian Alvarado v. State of Texas. Convictions and death sentence affirmed. Overview: Alvarado killed 2 people, a mother and son, during a drug deal. A year or so prior to the murder, Alvarado had been in the hospital. The psychologist stated that he was considered violent and dangerous and that he had a full-blown antisocial personality disorder. He had no concern for the rights of others, and that he admitted selling illegal weapons, abusing and selling illegal drugs, sexually assaulting a woman, mutilating human infants in satanic rituals, and committing numerous other crimes. He was discharged after 12 days in the hospital because he was felt to be a danger to the other patients and that he was not suffering from a mental illness that was treatable, and therefore, under the mental health code, he had to be discharged. Alright, August 1995, Edward Bennett v. State of Nevada. Murder conviction affirmed. Overview: Bennett was sentenced to death for killing a girl. Writings were seized showing that the murder was ritualistic and satanic. Some of these statements included, I quote this sick freak, "There's a problem in this country and it has a lot to do with being white. There's too many people with ugly skin. I need to kill somebody or tear someone apart. I got to satisfy my need cure for this thirst for blood. So as I make the sacrifice by doing it just for you and kill this child, for it is a firstborn, I'm giving you my soul, Satan. Where is my reward? My thirst for blood is now calm, but it shall rise again. My power is so strong I need to cause some death, for Lucifer's inside me, and I don't want to let him out. I look in the mirror, I see him in my eyes. I feel his heart beating in my chest, and I know it's not mine, for I feel so privileged, for I'm with number 1. And I'm so effing powerful, and my reigning has just begun. As I kill and kill again, I feel my rewards come on, my power growing even greater. I'm so effing strong, for I am the devil's right-hand man. I carry out his every chore. I make the sacrifice in his name. Lucifer the Great, blood splattered on my face from the kill I've just done." Yeah, Lucifer and Moloch are little bitches, and you are too, you little fucking bag of shit. Alright, moving right along. July 1995, State of North Carolina versus Michael Allen Parker Sr. Convictions for multiple counts of child molestation affirmed. Overview: the defendant thought there should be a mistrial for several reasons, one of which was witness testimony that he had threatened to bomb the women's shelter his wife and family were staying at. Appeals court describes children's testimony. Defendant pulled down S's pants and threw on the floor and inserted a spoon into her private and moved it around. Defendant took blood that was on the spoon, put it in a cup and drank it while the others were standing around singing with lit candles. S testified that when defendant took her into the woods behind her grandmother's house and abused her in front of several people holding lit candles, another young girl, A. Robinson, started screaming at first and then jumped up. She had no clothes on. She started running, and her dad jumped up and started chasing her through the woods. One of the children also described molestation by the grandmother. In news articles, she's named as the co-defendant. A news article relates that children testified that Parker raped and sodomized them in the family's trailer near Saluda and in nearby woods. often while other people wearing black pants and white shirts stood around chanting. December 1994, Heather Barker, neglected child, Court of Appeals of Ohio. Overview. Age 5, Heather was taken into custody by DHS due to physical injuries to her genital area. Testimony proved to the court that she'd been sexually molested by clear and convincing evidence, although there wasn't any obvious perpetrator to hold accountable. The mother was cited for neglect and was given 18 months reunification services, but they did not alleviate the problems which brought the child into custody. Social services didn't think the mother could protect the child. The child was prone to trance-like states after unsupervised visits with the mother and other unusual behavior. A treating psychologist and social worker thought the child had been ritually sexually abused based on her statements. A trial took place contesting these matters, and the court amended the abuse complaint based on clear and convincing evidence to a finding of neglect as well. April 1994. Crystal and Tasha, Superior Court of Connecticut, Juvenile Matters, termination of parental rights affirmed. Overview. Appellate opinion cites that these children were in several placements over a period of 4 years after finding of neglect in juvenile court. The mother was in and out of prison due to drug usage and sales. One of the children had been diagnosed with multiple personality disorder and had been subjected to Satanism. It was not clear whether the incidents took place with the biological mother or in the foster homes the child was in over the years where allegations of abuse had been confirmed. Further exploration revealed that the child connected terrifying experiences in a ritualistic, abusive church and sexual abuse with her biological mother. Contact with her mother was suspended when the child began exhibiting negative behaviors after visitations or after other types of communication with her mother. April 2000, Warsaw, Poland. Tomasz Suzina and Robert Krakowian pleaded guilty to murder. A 19-year-old woman and a 17-year-old boy were killed during a ritual satanic mass in southern Poland. Police said after finding the cut-up and burned bodies, the two victims were members of a sect that staged a black mass in a disused bunker on the outskirts of the town of Ruda Slaska, but they did not know they were about to die. Another teenage cult member who survived was taken to the hospital with multiple knife wounds. See Teenage Cult Members Killed in Satanic Mass. Agence France Press, March 4th, 1999. And Polish Satanists jailed for ritual double murder. Agence France Press, April 1, 2000.